Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Saturday, April 20th, 2019. And we're still kind of reading in this book right here, Buscaglia Born for Love. Very fun and interesting book, and we're working our way through it, having a good time. Glad to see everybody out there, hoping they drop in and see the world. Well, we'll just go ahead and if my sinus, and I should say if, it's not going to be if, my sinus will just bug me all the time we're here. That's just how it is. Anyway, get things straightened down here. Anyway, let's start out the first one. And we're in a segment I believe is called Love Has Acquired Its Tenuous Reputation because it has for so long been left in the hands of amateurs. So we're still in that segment of this book. Love makes us more. Love encourages us to venture into places into our minds and hearts never before explored and which would never have been disclosed except for love. In essence, love reveals us to ourselves. In love, we find the security which encourages us to risk, to try again, to find new behavioral alternatives for old ways. We more deeply discover ourselves as we discover each other. From lovers, we are presented with a new vision, a realization that the world we have defined for ourselves may have been delimiting, and we are encouraged to open up to new perceptions made possible only through someone else's vision. Love offers us the more fertile soil for growth. We nurture that soil by enriching it with a willingness to give up our old self and our useless preconceptions. And in return, we are presented with a broader vision of ourselves and a world of limitless possibilities for our discovery. Love is not blind. It has perfect vision. It makes it possible for us to see as we have been seen before. Quote by Vincent van Gogh, "There is the same difference in a person before and after he is in love as there is in an unlighted lamp and one that is burning. The lamp was there and was a good lamp, but now it is shielding light too, and this is its real function." That particular one just makes sense. I hate to constantly apologize for my sinus, but unfortunately it just drives me nuttier than a fruitcake. There ain't much I can do about it. Sad part is I could blow my nose 1,000 times and it wouldn't help much. But I keep trying. So anyway, we'll go on and read the next little segment. And this segment is called, "We are only prepared to give and receive the love we know." Working with emotional disturbed children over the years has served to offer me great insight. Most of these children had only experienced perversions of love. It was not surprising then that expressions of love terrorized them. Signs of affection were rejected and misinterpreted. Tendencies repelled them. The long road to trust had to be paved with months and years of consistent and persistent reassurance. What they had learned to fear could finally, with time and understanding, be accepted as soothing. What they had experienced as agitating now seemed comforting. What they had perceived as distasteful could now be accepted as reassuring. The love we have to give will be contingent upon the love we have experienced. But there is hope. Love is learned through loving. Well, the quote below by Anna Morrow Lindbergh: "There is no harvest for the heart alone. The seed of love must be eternally resown." A lot of truth to that one, and unfortunately, probably many, especially children, because we were all children at one time or another, went through segments of our lives that distorted the concept of love as it was, shall we say, meant to be. Very sad indeed. And that's just the way it is. Now we're going to be jumping into another segment or chapter, whatever one wants to prefer to call it. The book is kind of uniquely written in the sense that there are really no chapters. It's just segments. Anyway, the next segment is, "Worry never robs tomorrow of its sorrow. It only saps today of its joy." I'd say that's very well spoken. So we'll continue on with the next segment. "A day spent without having completed an act of love is a day lost. We all have so many possible occasions for loving, and yet there is so little demonstrated love in the world. People are dying alone, crying alone. Children are being abused, and elderly people are spending their final days without tenderness and love. In a world where there is such an obvious need for demonstrated love, it is well to realize the enormous power we do have to help and to heal people in our lives with nothing more complicated than an outstretched hand or a warm hug. Teresa of Avila entreated us to accustom yourself to make many acts of love, for they unkindly and melt the soul. Day's end is a good time to reflect on what we have done to make the world a better place, more caring and loving place. If nothing springs to mind night after night, this could also be an excellent time for us to consider how we can change the world for the better. We need not perform monumental acts, but act on the simple things which are reality accomplished, that phone call we have not made, or that note we have put off writing, that kindness we have failed to acknowledge. When it comes to giving love, the opportunities are unlimited, and we are all gifted. Quote by David Wilkinson. Love is not only something you feel, it is something you do. I'm sure not a day doesn't go by that there's some circumstance during the day that would offer the opportunity to be kind and helpful to someone. Okay, the next segment is avoiding ourselves. Most of us never get closer than 3 feet from ourselves. We have no real interest in who we are or why we behave as we do. We don't trust our feelings, thoughts, or our dreams. We are fearful that if we were to examine ourselves closely, we would discover a Pandora's box of horrors. It is only when we face our suspected demons that we become able to deal with them. Though we have heard the incendious cries of philosophers and psychologists to know thyself, it seems only vaguely relevant. So we continue to live with a stranger. How then can we expect to take on the responsibilities for others when we have not yet come to grips with ourselves? We cannot hide who we are, and ask other strangers hiding who they are to love us and expect to find happiness. Quote by Lord David Cecil: "The first step to knowledge is to know that we are ignorant." That one, I totally agree. But again, one must be careful to not degrade our ignorance, because a lot of our ignorance in the real world, we ourselves are not even aware of. And if you're not aware of it, then how can you consider yourself ignorant? If you're aware of that ignorance, then that truly is a step in the direction of gaining knowledge of oneself. Oh, whatever. All right, the next little segment that I'm going to read is extremes of emotion distort love. When we encounter our first love, we are usually overwhelmed. We see what we want to see rather than what there is. We do not understand when others are not astounded by the beauty, the warmth, the strength, and the brilliance of our loved one. It is like the fable magical glasses, which, when worn, were capable of creating a paradise out of hell. Reality, it would seem, cast an unendurable glare. Emotional extremes that distort our perception of reality are capable of making fools of us all. These states are usually transitory and are rarely conducive to sound judgment. If we are willing to wait, however, we learn a sense of balance. Passions are ripened rather than inflamed. Adoration is tempered with moderation. This is not to say that we lose our fire or become emotionally limp. It is only a reminder that we need to remove the emotional blinders so that we can trust our vision. Quote by Henry David Thoreau: "A man must see before he can say." Makes sense to me. In that first love, it's probably very true. We are overwhelmed by the sight of what we think is there in relationship to what is really there. And I would say probably quite normal. It's good that we leave, a moment to contemplate the things that we read. The next segment is called Love Has Greater Purpose Than to Simply Make Us Comfortable. Many of us seem content being passive witnesses to love, convinced that since we were born for love, it should present no problems. As soon as love brings discomfort or appears to make demands of us, our instinct is to withdraw, convinced that we were not meant to struggle. No one said love was easy. It is a constant search, repetitive with its share of confusion, frustration, and despair. If it is comfort we seek, we might best center solely upon ourselves, where we can be master, hindered neither by conflict nor the need to compromise. But as long as we bring others into our lives, we can be assured of certain degrees of conflict. But love suffers its own kind of degradation when it becomes nothing more than a comfort zone. It is always more than just a way for two people's minimal needs to be met. A quote by Samuel Johnson: "Nothing will ever be attempted if all possible objections must first be overcome." In essence, living life will always have problems. So one's goal should be to overcome. The next one that I'm going to read is The Tools to Make Love Work. Most of us have little knowledge of the tools which make love work. We shouldn't blame ourselves for this, since love is mainly learned through modeling. And there are pitifully few good models. But it is reassuring to know that the tools for becoming better lovers are readily available and that it is never too late. Actually, it's rather simple. To start with, we might ask ourselves what things give us our greatest happiness. Then we must give those things to the ones we love. It's a wonderful and simple way to start. And since everyone requires basically the same things for happiness, we can hardly ever go wrong. A quote by Douglas M. Larson: "When we give what we have, we are ready to receive what we really need." Very interesting thought. Too bad there ain't something I can do with my nose. And I'm not complaining, it's just something that I have to live with, that's all. Okay, the next little segment that I'm going to read is love can be nurtured by solitude. A friend explained that his relationship was destroyed because his girlfriend wanted them to be together all the time, night and day. Any sign of his wanting to be alone was to her an indication that their relationship was in danger. "I needed my private time," he confided. It had nothing to do with her, but she still saw it as a rejection. It became even more of a problem when I attempted to see old friends or make new acquaintances. She saw this as time stolen from her. I hope she finds that special man who will want to be inseparable. It wasn't me. To be sure, one of the signs of real love is that we never seem to get enough of each other, and nothing seems quite as wonderful as when we are sharing it together. But no matter how much we care for someone, we should always find some time apart from them. We must have time to grow separately if we care about growing together. A quote by Carlin Gilren. Love one another, but make no bound of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your soul. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. Very, very good. I would say has a lot towards my personal feelings. I am under the firm belief that you cannot live someone else's life, because in doing so, you will have lost your own. Sad, but very true. The next segment is called Relating. Two strangers meet. Both have separate histories. Both have unique perceptions of the world. They have each learned special techniques to deal with their fears and frustrations. They come to the meeting with severe limitations as well as limitless possibilities. Their love will succeed to the extent that they are willing and able to explain themselves to each other. This should be easy, since in loving someone, we are afforded the safety and comfort necessary for revelation. To the extent that we are willing to do this, we discover the most natural path through the destructiveness of pretense and complication. A quote by Norman Cousins: "Whether or not interplanetary communication ever materializes, an even more grandiose project awaits us. This is the need for human beings to communicate with one another, here and now." Holy cow. More truth there than meets the old eyeball. What is communication? I always like to think, reading in the Bible anyway, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word, the communication, the voice, the sound, this thing that we call communication is supposedly above and beyond any and all animals on the planet. To be able to express abstract ideas and realities and mysteries. Whereas all other creatures on the planet seem to not have these abilities. The ability to communicate is, by and large, from my point of view anyway, is truly an art, like an artist or a painter or a builder. It's an art that does not come naturally. It's an art that needs to be learned. Holy cow, somebody jumped in here. Can you hear me?
Hello, my friend.
Ah, I can hear you now.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How's the world treating you there?
Okay. Just marking time until my operation.
You got another operation?
To get this thing off, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that was going to be an operation. I thought they'd just unscrew a few screws and let you run down the hall.
No, they got to sedate me. They got to do all that stuff. So.
Oh, wow. That thing must be embedded pretty sturdy then, I guess.
Yep.
Wow.
So, well, we're down to 4 days now.
Hey, that really sounds good, don't it?
Yep. So, what you doing for Easter?
Oh, probably not much of anything. Kids might come down and spend the day, but I don't know if we got any other plans than that.
Gonna eat Jelly Bellies?
Maybe.
My sister said she's going to bring me some jelly beans.
Ah, that's cool. Well, as usual, I'm just reading through my book here and contemplating these unique short verbiages into wisdom, or whatever you want to call it. Letting my sinus drive me nuttier than a fruitcake.
I don't know who else going to show, but I was going to have my call tonight, so.
Oh, what, at 4 o'clock?
Yeah.
Well, I'll try to be there.
Okay. But I do have a competing call to be on now, so I'm going to go.
Oh, you're going to take off, huh?
Yeah, nothing personal.
Oh, I know it's not.
Just trying to spread myself as thin as I can to help as many people as I can while I can, so.
Well, that's what it's all about.
Besides, Robert, you're pretty boring and you're not much fun to be around. And
oh, I'm going to cry.
Oh, man, don't cry. What's the old saying? Don't go away mad, just go away.
Yeah, I got you.
No, of course not. No, I really do enjoy your books and really enjoy listening to the recordings when I can, and always uplifting, and yeah, I always learn something. So you keep doing what you're doing, Robert. You're doing a good thing.
Yeah, I think so. I'm having fun at it. So, hey, If I'm having fun, maybe somebody else will see it and they'll also have fun.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, you have a good one. Stay out
All
of
right, take
trouble.
care. Yep, take care, buddy. Love you, man.
All right, love you too. All right. The next segment we're going to read is called Lovers Forgive Themselves. If you're like me, you may forget your own telephone number, but have an unfailing memory for past mistakes you've made. We compound this when we allow these memories to cloud the present, even years after they've occurred. There are parents, for instance, who burden themselves with a lifetime of guilt for the mistakes they feel they made in bringing up their children. There are those who have made poor life decisions in work, social and personal situations, and have pounded their chest raw with contrition, continuing to punish ourselves so far out of proportion to the wrongs we may have done is an intriguing phenomenon. It suggests that we are our own hardest judge and chief tormentor. At one time or another, we will all need the forgiveness of others. But equally important is the forgiveness we owe to ourselves. Isn't it time to liberate ourselves from our self-imposed cells of guilt and regret? Love is not about opening old wounds. It is about healing them. It is about getting up and moving forward and getting on with life. A quote by La Rushtown. One forgives to the degree that one loves. And that particular segment is now complete. And we'll move on to the next one. And the next segment is called Forgiveness is Made Easy When We Can Identify with Others and Admit to Our Own Imperfections and an equal capacity for wrongdoing. The next two that are in front of me here are really short. So I'm going to start with this one. It's called Attempting to Change the Unchangeable. It is wisely said that the only thing we have the consistent power to change is ourselves. We are free to alter how we view the world, how we respond to situations, how we react to people, what we believe and what we do. It is when we set out to change other people that we encounter frustration and disappointment. If we want others to change, the best thing we can do is to set a gourmet table of alternatives and invite them to partake of as many possibilities as we can offer, allowing them the prerogative to accept or reject without judgment. Anything less than this is courting tragedy. Quote by John Steinbeck, "It is the nature of man, as he grows older, to protect against changes, particularly change for the better." Very, very true. How do you do? It is, in my opinion, almost, not completely, but almost, oh boy, a waste of time to try to change anything besides yourself. Alternatives might work if you got a lot of them. The next one is a well-known formula for helping love to grow. It has been said, and I'm certain it's true, that there is one sure way to keep love alive. Find something nice to do for or say to the one you love, then repeat it 20 times. Amen. Quote is from John 3:18. Our love must not be a thing of words and fine talk. It must be a thing of action and sincerity. Very, 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 very true. How nice to have Brother Dave drop in. Going through a lot with his foot. Oh. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Must be this apple concoction. Okay. The next little segment that I'm going to read is called Love Profits from a Sense of Humor. We have become too serious about everything, too tense, too stressed. We equate maturity with seriousness and believe that wisdom comes to us only through sober reflection and long considered judgments. I was at a dinner party once when the conversation went from one morsel discussion to another. Illness, crime, neurosis, the failing economy, a prevailed environment. It was unrelenting. All at once, an elderly man leaped up from the table and shouted, "Playtime! Of course, everyone thought he had gone completely mad. Too many at the table had learned to stifle play and had forgotten the value of mad impulses. Most of us seem to prefer a predictable life, quiet and free from exercise. Few would choose a passion and existence, unforetold and torment. I wonder what happened to the fun-loving spirits we once were, the wonder we allowed to dominate our days. When did gathering with friends become occasion solely for the sounding of the bell of doom? Our straight-laced do indeed need some serious loosening from time to time for our own sake and for the sake of those who love us. The weight of the world is a terrible thing to be saddled with. We should refuse to carry it if it is at the expense of the lighter load of laughter and lightheartedness. Quote by Charles Field, "The most useless day is that in which we have not laughed." What you doing, girl? Oh, okay. I okay. I'm listening to you. All right, well, give me about 5 minutes and I'll be done. All right. I know. Okay. Okay, the next segment that I'm going to read is Love What You Love with a Passion. Love is an enormous emotion of extremes. It challenges our patience, our understanding, and our resources. It heightens our perceptions and increases our energy and vitality. It's not for the easily defeated or the quickly disillusioned. If we are determined to be lovers, we shall have to accept and acknowledge our passions. Of course, we risk being led into mysterious, uncharted, hazardous places, but we can be assured that our lives will never be dull. A quote from Vincent van Gogh, "The best way to know God is to love many things." So we will discontinue right there. We will move on and be back on Tuesday. So everybody out there have a great day and a wonderful time. And I'll see you then on Tuesday. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye.